Sodales. So, on Indigenous Peoples Day, or Columbus Day, or both, or a rainy Monday in October, depending on how you define it, let's talk about virtual assessment. Only, let's step back from the kinds of assessments that we give our students, and let's do just a little bit of assessment of something that is foundational for that. Those of us who are Latin teachers watching this know that the word assess comes from the Latin word sedere, to sit, ad, next to. So assessment is about sitting down together. That may kind of be a revelation. It was for me when I thought about it the other day. I thought, huh, assessment is about sitting down together, etymologically. But we don't do that. When do we sit down with our students together and just look at how they're progressing together? Maybe we need to do more of that. I mean, you guys know, I want you to do more of that. I want you to do less of the stuff that makes you crazy, less of the stuff that makes you overwhelmed, less of the stuff that makes you feel like you're a bad teacher or not enough of a teacher, because that story that you're telling yourself, the one that drives you to do all these things, isn't true. Or at least it's not the only way to look at things. So, look at this picture and think about this picture. I love the fact that this picture came with this template. And I asked myself, is it lonely or beautiful or both? My first thought was, it's beautiful. I don't know where it is, but I want to go there. I want to sit and just look at that rock all day. Maybe not entirely by myself, but I think that would be a great trip, right? But then I thought, you could look at it as being kind of a lonely place too, right? I mean, there's nobody around. There's nobody there for miles and miles around, it looks like, except the photographer. That huge sky, these big, beautiful rock formations. Are they natural? Is there some human influence? I don't know. You could tell yourself all kinds of different stories about this picture. And whether you find it lonely or beautiful or both, whether you think I want to go there or that's the last place I'd ever want to go, so much depends on your story. So on this day, I was actually thinking about two teacher friends of mine, both of whom loved to travel and both of whom loved to be out west. Out west from North Carolina is, Memphis was west for them. East Tennessee, my home was west for them. But my friends Sheila and Vani, they were both math teachers. They were both wonderful math teachers. They loved their students. Their students loved them. They loved teaching high school math. And that was their whole lives. Vani never got married. Vani really never had much in the way of relationships. Sheila, when she was in her late 40s, early 50s, finally found true love. But neither of them had kids, except that both of them had hundreds of kids, right? Because every kid that they ever taught loved them. And I ask if it's a sad story because both of them literally died in service. Vani had a heart attack, and she went home from school not feeling so good. She had a heart attack and she died. Sheila was working on getting her classroom ready for open house, and she started feeling not so good, and she had a heart attack. And nobody really knows whether she was dead or alive when the ambulance left the school, but everybody knows that she was dead by the time that the ambulance got to the hospital. So she literally died for school. And I used to think that was the saddest story. There's a memorial garden at that school for both of them, because this was just a couple years apart that the two of them died. And there's a scholarship, but it's been more than 20 years. And I was just looking at the website of that school, and I realized that none of the administration, very few of the faculty, and obviously none of the students, many of the students' parents wouldn't even remember these two. Is it a sad story? Or is it kind of a wonderful story because it's exactly how they both would have wanted to go? So much depends on your perspective, right? And our perspective's about a lot of things, including assessment and including scary things like what we will and won't spend money on, are really related to that story about what good teachers are and what good teachers do, what bad teachers are and what bad teachers do, because we want to be good, right? We don't want to be a bad one. So we want to do the things that good teachers do, and we want to avoid the things that bad teachers do. We want to be the way that good teachers are and not the way that bad teachers are. But the problem is those stories can take us in different directions. Sometimes our story includes, I would just die if. Well, Vani and Sheila literally died if. For both of them, the world changed. They, the district administration, decided to reconfigure schools. And instead of having grades 7 through 9 in junior high and grades 10 through 12 at high schools, they moved to a 6 through 8 middle school and a 9 through 12 high school. Everything changed. And it wasn't but a couple years after that that Vani and Sheila both died. Because their story was, I would just die if. I mean, that caused the heart attack, but in either case, but each of them had said, I would just die if. And if happened, and they did die. So then I thought about a friend of mine who used to say, things will get good again. He believed firmly that things were going to get good again, if. Unfortunately, that if never happened. I think he's retired now, but whether he's retired or whether he's still working as an assistant principal, he has that story about how things are gonna get good again if. And I hope he's right. But I think that the better story in a time like this is things have changed, and I'm gonna have to change too, right? I mean, if I keep doing what I've always done, at best I'm gonna get the same results that I always got. Now, sometimes those results were pretty good in an old world, but the world has changed a lot, right? I mean, the world has changed significantly. If I keep doing what I've always done, that might not work so well. If I keep giving my vocabulary quiz on Thursday and all my students are remote, I mean, I can keep doing that, but what's it going to tell me, right? We've talked about that before. And then right before I came to record this video, I saw a post on Facebook from a friend of mine who was talking about a thing that led me to think of this question. What's your good teachers spend time and money on story? That's a scary question. Because we know that we have one, right? We have a story about that. One thing that we tend to be able to answer right away is not myself, right? I mean, we spend time and money on stuff for our students, right? We spend time and money on, maybe some of us spend time and money on becoming a better teacher, going to that conference, buying that subscription to whatever. But is that story, that old story, helping us? Is it getting us the results that we wanted? Is it still getting us the results that we want? Or when times change, does that part of the story need to change too? I'd like to challenge 3 or 4 people. You know who you are. You're sitting and you're listening to this and you're thinking, every day Justin says, get in touch with me if. Send me a Facebook message if. And you know that you're in that if situation. You know that things are not working. You don't know how to fix it. And you know it's because your story about something is involved. But obviously, you don't know how, because if you knew how, you would fix it. So I'm going to challenge those 3 or 4 of you to go ahead today. Just get in touch today. We'll talk more about some things that other people want to do and need to do tomorrow. But if you're one of those 3 or 4 people and you're saying to yourself, I've been waiting. I've been waiting for the time to be right. Maybe the time is right today, and maybe you won't know whether the time is right or not until you just send that message and say, I'm not even sure why I'm doing this, but I just know it's time. So I want to leave you guys with this picture, and the other picture, and the other picture. Are they lonely or are they beautiful? Are they places you'd want to live? Are they places that make you think, like Vonnie and Sheila thought, I would just die if? You guys are too precious to lose, and we cannot do this work alone. And it doesn't have to be difficult, and it doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be hard. All we have to do is stop and look and listen closely to some things. Do we like what we see? Do we like the story it's telling us? Well, if we don't, the good news is we can change it. So happy whatever day you're celebrating today. If it's day off from school, if it's just a rainy Monday, if it's a beautiful Monday in your part of the world. So I'm looking forward to hearing from the 3 or 4 of you who know that you need to get in touch today. And until we see each other, until next time, Walete Sodales.